want to start this video by talking about if you can be friends with the people that you work with. And let me start off by saying this because the place that I work at, I already know someone from the job before I joined. And the thing is, I didn't apply knowing that they'll be there. And that's what I'm going to say because, when you work with people, it doesn't mean you're always going to be friends with people. And when you're in a job, for example, and you return back, and then you see someone that you know, it's not that you rekindle an old connection in terms of a friendship, but you realize that you've grown so much. While you're working with people, it's not every single person that you get along with. So I'm going to start off by saying this because you can be friends with people you work with, but at the same time, people can't. When you hang out with people that you already work with, you don't want to start falling out and starting to have an argument. Because that's what some people say, when you have drama outside the workplace, it's best to keep things professional and to not bring it into a workplace. And when you have drama outside the workplace, it's best to deal with it in your way. Because you don't want it to be that a manager's involved. And when a manager's involved, you start working different times. So when you lose your job over an argument which happened in a moment, you can't really forgive that person. And that's what I'm going to say because it is a key lesson and it's not something that I had to go through, but that's just one scenario. When it comes to you being outside of work, you have to be careful of what you post, what you tell people, because sometimes people use what you tell them against you and you don't want that to happen at all. But at the same time, you don't want people to see you in an unserious way all the time. Because when you can't take yourself seriously, other people begin to not take you seriously. So that's what I'm going to say about being friends with people that you work with, because you have to be careful of what you're saying, what you're doing, and you have to realize that everyone likes to do different things. So if you don't like something which someone else is doing, you can't always say that, because sometimes it's like you crossing a line. And I'm only saying this because, when you say things or you do things that annoy people, they sometimes take it the wrong way and then they take it out on you. So that's why it's really good to be careful in that regard. So when you're friends with people that you work with, it's not always a bad thing because you want to know what's going on in the company. You want people that can cover your shifts. And I'm going to say that because, when people don't cover your shifts, not only do you get in trouble, but they get in trouble as well. So that's why when people do cover your shifts, you start to trust that person more because they're sticking to what they actually said they're going to do. It's not every single person that you get along with, but you need to find a few people that you can have conversations with. And the reason for that is because some people, I'm sorry to say, all they want to do is just work. And no matter how many times you convince them to try new things, to meet new people, they just don't want to do that. So it's entirely up to you how you really take that. And it's entirely up to you to focus on what you want, what you need, who you really want around you. Because when it comes to jobs, for example, they hire people because they like people that socialize with customers, people that like to socialize with other people. Because if people aren't working towards a common goal, then you won't really achieve anything. And if you achieve something by yourself, people aren't going to be proud of you because you're only doing things for yourself. And that's what I'm going to say, because if you're a selfish person, you're not going to make as many friends, but you are honest. So there are pros and cons to that. Because if you're a selfish person and you only do things that you want to do, you realize other people won't tell you things, they won't invite you to places. And when it comes to working, it's about networking. It's about learning new skills, learning new things, meeting new people, and you get into different places because you meet new people. When it comes to work, you do have to be professional and there is peer pressure because there are things you want to do and there are things you want to say, but you need to realize that certain things happen at certain times. So that's what people say because it's not the right time to do this thing, but you can do it later. And for example, if you ask for someone's contact details, sometimes people react in like a bad way. And it's not like they reject you badly because you still have to see them at work. Some people may question why you're asking for their contact details. So that's why you have to actually get to know people and to talk with them. Because in a way, if you're asking for people's contact details, you understand that you're trying to at least know that person more, and they get that picture as well. Especially if they're in a relationship, they travel so far away to get to a job. Like, these are things that you have to think about, because if they're in a relationship, you can't really hang out with them as much. When they're in a relationship, they're mostly focused on their partner, and when they're not focused on their partner, it's just to meet people at work, so that there's no drama if they seem to talk to one person in particular. I'm not saying that people, when they're in a relationship, that they can't talk to people, but it's just more likely to cause drama, because when you spend time with one person besides your partner may think of that in like a bad way, depending on the person that you're with. But I'll leave it as that. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about, for example, when someone travels so far away to get to a job, and then you want to hang out with them outside of work, you can't really do that because they're only traveling to the area for work. The person that's traveling far away to get to work, they're spending more money to travel to and from work, and they can't really hang out with you in that area or somewhere else because it's more expenses. So that's what I'm going to say, because you have to take that into consideration when you're trying to meet new people, you're trying to make plans, you're trying to learn people's schedule. Because that's why even myself, I hang out with people on my day off. Not always, but I try and hang out with people during my days off. And the reason for that is because I'm no longer in school, I'm no longer going to clubs. I just go to the gym and I try and meet people, and I force myself to do that. Otherwise, I'm always in isolation. When I said that I know someone before I applied to the job, the thing is, I didn't know that they were in that part of the company. But I'm only saying this because where I work now, I know someone when I got the job. And because I know someone, I already had that connection. And that's another thing, because if you want to be friends with people at work, you need to have social skills to be able to talk to customers, talk to people at your work. Because the thing is, people can't read your mind, and if you want to talk to them, you might as well talk to them and see how they react. Because I knew someone already, I can just be myself. And that's what I'm going to say, because when you meet people, if you have to act a certain way, which is besides yourself, then you might as well not be that person's friend. Because it's like school, it's like social events. If you can't really act like yourself, then those people aren't really for you. And that's what I'm going to say, because, for example, the person that I know, we were friends for like a while. And then what happened, I went to my secondary school, which was far away. And then afterwards, I happened to be back into the area. And then I decided to work more. I tried finding jobs, and then that was the job available. And then we see each other really often. So that's what I'm going to say, because to be friends with someone at work, you need the social skills, you need to see people often. And sometimes if you bump into people outside of work, that really helps you to improve the friendship, because you're no longer trying to act professional, but you are mindful of who you're with. I'm going to say this, that when it comes to the friends that I'm making at work, there is another person that comes to mind right now, because the person I'm thinking about, we became friends because we kept seeing each other outside of work. And I believe that is a good sign, because it's not that I'm just seeing them, but they also keep seeing me. When it comes to the person that I'm thinking about, we talk to each other outside of work through messages. And I'm saying that because whenever we see each other, they message me first saying that they saw me. And then we had a whole conversation talking about what they have going on outside of work. And I did the same thing, but it's mostly in person. Because that's the thing, if you're always talking to people, one second. If you're always talking to people through text, you need to realize that it's much better to talk to them in person. Like, even if you arrive to work early, that is an opportunity to talk to people at work, so that you don't have to always hang out with them if they can't. So that's what I'm going to say, because if you arrive at work early, it's your opportunity to talk to people there, or you can just have a break to yourself and see who goes to you. When you see people at work, you bump into them a few times, but before, you never really saw them. That is something which I always wondered. Why is it that you never see that person before, but when you approach them or they approach you, you start seeing them everywhere? And it's not like you plan these things out, but you see them in unexpected times and unexpected ways. I wanted to say this, when it comes to my case, I have actually seen people outside of my work, which I've worked with, but sometimes I walk past them, they walk past me. Sometimes it's not meant to be because, you know, when people walk past you or you walk past them, it doesn't mean that you're always going to be friends with people that you work with. You are not going to be friends with every single person that you work with, and that's okay. And the reason why I say that is because you have things you like to do, other people have things they like to do. And in my case, I'm not friends with every single person. And I'm saying this because I rarely hang out with people outside of my work. And it could be because I'm trying to maintain a professional image and then I get carried away, thinking that my real life is also my work life. And that's what I'm going to say, because if your real life is your work life, all you're going to be talking about is work. And then because you're always thinking about work, you miss good opportunities to really hang out with people. And I do get it. Sometimes when you hang out with people, it's not really the best decisions that they make because you're no longer thinking about yourself, but who you're associated with, the decisions that they make. And sometimes people, when you hang out with them, you don't really see yourself doing those things. And it doesn't mean you stop people from doing what they want to do because you can't control people. If people choose to do those things, that's really up to them. But also, you don't regret hanging out with people if what they're doing is really bad and they're trying to involve you in it. This will be my last point and then I'll end the video because I feel like this one is very important when it comes to meeting new people, knowing how people act like in all situations. Because you need to know how people act like through conflict. And the reason why I say that is because some people start drama, some people start conflict because they want to address a problem. Some people will avoid conflict because they know that solving the problem will lose that friendship or lose that relationship. When people choose to work together with someone else and they're dating, I can't really talk about that because I don't have that experience. But let me get back to the point that I was making about conflict. Because when it comes to conflict, some people want to start drama and they know that starting drama will cause trouble. And then sometimes people expect you to defend them because you're there with them. And if you don't defend them, you realize they're going to keep leading you into more situations where you have to defend them. So that's why you need to have boundaries as well. Because by having boundaries, you understand that you need to respect yourself, you need to put yourself first. There are some situations where it's out of control, where sometimes it's not even the people that you're with, but it's other people as well, which you don't know at all. So that's what I'm going to say, because it truly depends on the environments you put yourself in. And it's about you being respectful, but also being mindful of who you're with. And when it comes to conflict, for example, it doesn't mean that every single argument you have to be involved in. And sometimes you just need to mind your business. If the people that you work with, they're okay with listening to your opinion, you have facts to back up your opinion, then they're more likely to listen to you. And that's some people, but not all people. Because some people, they just want you to tell them what they want to hear, and they're not ready to hear the truth. When people are not ready to hear the truth, it doesn't matter what you say to them, they're going to take it the wrong way. So yeah, I'll leave the video as that, because when it comes to conflict, you just need people that you work with which are okay with listening to you. And it doesn't mean you're always right, but that's the same thing with you as well. You need to listen to people so that you can build a friendship, because you're not always going to get along with people. It's very important to know the people that are here for you and people that won't use you. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Thank you for watching this video. I don't really have negative experiences when it comes to work in terms of the people that I connect with. For me in particular, I'm very selective of who I connect with at work, but also in my personal life. So yeah, I'll leave the video as that. Thank you for watching. And you can comment down below to let me know your thoughts and even your own work experience. You can let me know the people that you at least get along with. Was it someone you knew before, or was it someone that you already got to know, at least for like a couple months? So yeah, I'll leave the videos there. Thank you for watching. You can like, you can comment, and that's all I got to say.